sky high. And then they started falling back down after about a year or so. But every single one of these areas had an increase in the delinquency rates after a disaster. Then if we look at the rent and price growth. So the left hand is the Sonoma County, and those are both liars. 6 months prior, there was some rent increases were going up, but then right after the disaster, look how they shot up, both of them. When it comes to the price, the home prices, Sonoma was kind of steady, but Butte was going down. But look at what happened after the disaster. The prices of homes increased dramatically. If we are a buyer, how is the mortgage affected by a disaster? Well, first of all, the home might be buying, might be destroyed or damaged. The lenders tighten up the requirements, and the mortgage interests may go up. Sometimes they don't accept new applications. They may say, no, we're not going to do a mortgage in this area. Maybe it's a huge fire risk. Say, no, we're not going to offer mortgages. So down payment assistance, a lot of times down payment assistance that's available goes away when a disaster strikes, and again, insurance rates go up, and there's a limited number of insurers. So as a buyer, when a disaster strikes, it can greatly affect your ability to be able to buy a home. As a seller, just think, it's yours, the house that was destroyed, all of a sudden you have no house to sell, right? And buyers are like, I don't want to live here because this is a fire zone. I'm not going to buy a house. I'm going to back out of the loan, back out of the agreement. They may not get financing. They may not get insurance. You may not, as a seller, you may not have the money to do the repairs on the property to make it sellable. And you may not have the insurance, you may not have other resources available to make that happen. So the one upside to a seller is that if you don't mind selling your house for less money, then there are investors that will come in for bargains. So those are that is one tiny little upside when it comes to being a seller, if you're willing to drop the price. Okay, so I talked about crystalline moments earlier. I talked about how the moments of disasters are all moments of clarity. Well, anytime there's a crystalline moment, there's always a gift or an opportunity. So what are the problems when it comes to the real estate market? Well, we've talked about it. Lenders either raise down payments or increase interest rates or whatever. Insurance company, the prices may rise or may not even exist. Buyers become limited because if a disaster strikes like the pandemic, we had 12-month forbearances, which means you don't make a mortgage payment for 12 months. Bottom line with that, the problem is that in order to have a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac loan, you have to have a 12-month history of loan payments. So if you don't have that 12-month loan history, you can't buy a house in 2 years. So that truly affects how you're going to, what the problems are. Prices will fall, the disaster increases in the surrounding areas. And then potential buyers may not qualify. So those are the downside. Those are the downside. What is the gift? Well, if you are an agent or you are in an area that you're in business or you just are a community leader, this is a time for you to shine, to stand out, to offer your expertise to people and communities that need it. Investors are looking for bargains, so if you're a realtor, you might want to start turning your market into realtor or investors instead of home buyers and sellers. People need to rent, so you can start doing more work in the rental market or BPOs. So those are all areas that help to, they are a gift to you. And then there's also new opportunities that will rise by giving back. So as a CPM advisor, or if you just want to be a person that shines in your community, if you are out there and you are helping your community come back from a disaster, and you are providing assistance to people when they need your services, I don't care whether you're a realtor or whether you are a massage therapist. If you are out there giving back, who are they going to call when it comes time for your services? They're going to call you. And hopefully the CPM advisor, if that's the direction you want to go. So lenders used to keep part, when you made a down payment for a house, they used to keep part of that in their coffers. They don't do that anymore. So when it comes time, when disasters happen, lenders no longer have this cushion, where because the whole idea of you putting your money in your bank account in your bank is so that they can roll that money out. Well, people when they lenders don't have that extra cushion, and they put that money all out without taking down payment, part of the money from the down payment, all that money's going out. So they now have a problem if they are trying to make it through the disaster period. If they guarantee the rate, let's say they guarantee the rate at 5%, and all of a sudden the rate has gone up to more than 5%, now they've lost that money. So they do this balancing act between bonds and loan securities. The lenders may cap as much, they may go to the loan originators and say, okay, we're going to give you $10 million to put out in loans over the next week. Once that's gone, you have to wait until we decide we can do it again in order to guarantee loans. They also sell loans to the secondary markets so they can loan more with continuing service. So they're going to like the junior. We're going to talk about that in a second. What is the biggest question the consumer has? What am I going to do if I can't make my payment? So first of all, the most important thing any consumer needs to know is they need to continue the payment until they make arrangements with their lender, whoever that lender is. Which means that you need to have a cushion of at least 3 to 6 months of home payment, house payment. And you need to think about it. You may need a place to live. So you may not need just the loan amount that you've got to worry about, but you may need money for you to live somewhere else. So all of that needs to be taken into consideration when you're thinking about your preparation and your plans. And loss mitigation, so repair of properties, it doesn't have to be paid right away, and therefore the repairs cannot be made as quickly as you may like. That's why contractors are so good at getting money out of people, because they'll come in and say, oh, I can fix your house in a week, but I'm going to need all your money up front to make that happen. And they get it, especially from elderly people or people that are just dying to get back into their home. So loan mitigation is a process where borrowers and loan service workers together to avoid foreclosure. So there's lots of different ways to be able to mitigate losses. First, there's loan modifications, which means that they reduce the amount of payment that you make and the money, the extra loan amount goes to the end of the loan period of time. Forbearance is what we have right now during the pandemic. We have people that are on 12-month forbearance. And it looks like maybe that's going to be increasing the loan. So, but the problem with that is, if you want to buy a house, if you need to move somewhere and buy a house, you can't do that unless you've got 12 months history. Repayment, usually what happens is there's a forbearance and they move into a loan modification and then they move into some kind of repayment program. And then they have deed in lieu of foreclosure. So the lenders don't want to take a house. They found out a few years ago during the downturn in the economy that it doesn't behoove them to own properties. So they're going to do everything they can to work with you and make sure that they're helping you out as much as possible. So for those of you who don't know, most of you that are in the real estate business know, but there's 3 government-backed agencies, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and Ginnie Mae. So Fannie Mae works from commercial and large banks. Freddie Mac works with small banks and other types of lenders. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are both considered, they work with conventional ones. Ginnie Mae, however, deals primarily with non-conventional government-backed loans, such as FHA, VA, and USDA. The difference between Ginnie Mae and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac is Ginnie Mae, the lenders that use their services are responsible for the loans. And the lenders have to actually approve the loans and make sure that the person is responsible and are also responsible for the loss. Ginnie Mae actually guarantees the investors that they will be paid even if the person is not making the payment to the lender. I'm not going to go through all of this, but each one of these organizations do have some type of disaster response program. Fannie Mae's is called the Disaster Response Network, and it's available for anybody that has a Fannie Mae loan. And they'll help you with your recovery service. So they'll provide on-site assistance as far as putting a recovery plan together, helping you with the applications for FEMA and that sort of thing. They have a program called ClearPoint's Project Porchlight, which provides ongoing support all the way through the recovery services. Most of these are very, very similar in what they do. Freddie Mac has Also, a forbearance program. They will also implement 90-day foreclosure moratorium where they don't report it to the credit bureaus. Transition from forbearances to available options to cure delinquencies. They provide additional assistance through modifications. And this last one. They work closely with the state and local disaster systems. They provide that information, and they again work with their lender or their mortgage people to be able to get the best they can help them with, or the best out of the deal. What happened? Sorry about that. 1 minute. Okay, how do I do this here? Actually, there we go, button, guys. Sorry. Oh, resume share right there. Okay. So Ginnie Mae, now the interesting thing about Ginnie Mae is, first of all, it was formed in 1968, and it was designed to really promote home ownership as a part of the U.S. HUD program, Department of Housing and Urban Development. They approve the lenders that are going to be eligible to offer the FHA, VA, and USDA loans. They are the principal financial arm for government mortgage loans backed by the government. They step in, and like what's happening right now, is they're paying the investors to make sure that the investors are taken care of. And here's an interesting fact. Foreign investors currently hold 24% of all of the Ginnie Mae securities. Foreign investors. The FHA, so the FHA has an interesting program. It's called the 203K. And it helps victims of disasters get mortgages and to reestablish themselves as homeowners. And they actually have a program. Part of the 203K is you can actually borrow above what your home value is and to cover costs of repairs. So a borrower can borrow up to $35,000 above their home price. And if they live in an opportunity zone, which means that you're living in a redevelopment area where they're trying to redevelop the whole area, you can receive another $15,000 above the $35,000 to get the repairs done. You have to have, in order to qualify for this program, you do have to have a presidentially declared disaster. That's what FEMA only comes out when there is a federally declared disaster. So they also have 90-day moratorium loan modifications like the others do. And then they also have a disaster standalone partial claim, and you can make a claim for X amount of dollars. So they have a pretty, if you're in a home that needs to be upgraded, this might be a good way to go if you have an FHA. The VA, they have disaster relief in a couple of different ways. First of all, the first thing you have to do as the homeowner is you need to contact FEMA and the insurance and the lenders. Talk with them. You can get assistance to do that by contacting some of the local veterans companies, organizations like American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Affairs, Disabled Americans, and other veteran organizations. Those people will help you if you're in need of assistance in making the claims for FEMA insurance and lenders. They do have also program of grant money that if you have, say you have a wheelchair, you need to have a wheelchairs home, a ramp and that sort of thing. They have special grants and programs to make those repairs. They also have a mortgage payment assistance if you need it, and they also do the other things like moratorium, foreclosure, forbearances, and waiving late fees. You do need to make sure that you continue to make the payment on your VA loan until you talk to your lender. This is another important phone number to put in if you are seeking an advisor, you need to put this in your phone so you can give it out to people. It is 800-273-8255 and press 1, and they will help you with all the special needs you might have. Now, Veterans Health, this has to do with the hospitals and the clinics for the veterans. And they have a special program to make sure that the hospitals and the clinics and things like that continue on. So their responsibility are prevention, decreasing the likelihood of an event, what they do to mitigate and reduce the impact of the disasters. They've got plans and resources in place so if something does happen, they can jump in and keep those hospitals and the clinics going. They have activities to stop and reverse any adverse effect from the disasters and respond quickly. They're out there quickly making sure that if they have to set up temporary clinics and temporary hospitals, they're there to do so. And then they also have plans for short as well as long-term recovery. And then if you live in a rural area, there's a rural development disaster assistance. For something, obviously you need to contact FEMA insurance first. They have a program where you can have insurance that will help reduce losses. If your income is reduced by 10%, you might be eligible for payment assistance. If you have a multi-family housing loan, you might be eligible for servicing tools to repair the damage. Community facilities have special programs for community facilities that you might be eligible for some financial help there. And they also have emergency community facility assistance grants programs. So if you have a hospital or you have a public building of some kind that has been damaged, they have some assistance as far as grants. If you are a business in the rural development, they partner with the SBA. So the SBA, you've got FEMA that provides the grant money, but it's very limited. It's to make you safe, secure, and sanitary. If you have a loan, or if you have a business, or if you need a loan, you get an individual assistance loan, or for a small business, you get an SBA loan. And they have special programs through the rural development for home development programs. So, and then communities with less than 10%, what is it? It's 10%. Oh, no, 10,000. Communities with less than 10,000 residents may have grants available if their water has been compromised. So there's all different kinds of programs. If you're living in a rural area, it's worth checking out. Okay, that was mortgages. The ache for home lives in all of us. The safe place where we go as we are. The ache of home lives in all of us. The safe place where we can go as we are and not be questioned. My Irish love. So making sure that we have the right insurance, that we understand what we have when it comes to mortgage, is critically important to making sure that we have a home to go to, and that it is exactly the way that we want it to be. So, I'm sorry, is there any questions? Oh, is it break time? I'm sorry?
We only have one more section after this. Do you want to break now?
Does anybody want to take a break? I've got one section though. What's that? Okay, let's take a 5-minute break. 5 minutes.
Welcome everybody, this is Darcy Hall. I am live in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Power to Preparedness workshop led by Ms. Connie Myers, the founder of CKM Solutions Group. She's a previous home inspector and a FEMA inspector, tons of world experience in terms of crisis knowledge management and disaster preparedness. And so she's leading this one-day workshop. It started at 9 a.m. Pacific this morning, and we're coming close to the end here. I had an opportunity, I was authorized to live stream part of it. I'm not sure if you can hear me through the mask right now or not, but yeah, it's just a small, switch this around a second. There's a small group here at, actually some people have gone for the break, but we're at a Station Casino in Las Vegas. This is the first live event, but we do have people on Zoom as well. So we are a hybrid event, and yeah, let me see if anybody wants to. Well, we have a few minutes here. I'm going to do a couple interviews here. I'm live right now, and just while we have a quick break, if any of you want to say anything about how today's going, anything you learned from this morning in terms of, if you want to tell us what today was about and so forth.
Well, it's been a very interesting course, and I think that I almost feel like I'm getting a master's degree here in disaster preparedness. So yeah, it's been a fun and very enlightening day.
Did you come in from out of state for this event?
Yes, I came from Nebraska.
Wow.
So yeah,
Awesome.
A little ways away.
A little ways away.
Yeah. So.
What's something that you learned this morning that you, wow, never even thought of that? Is there anything new, or do you feel fully prepared in any kind of disaster already?
Well, I'm very more informative about being prepared, and I would say you don't stop and realize till maybe a disaster happens that all this stuff you do need to have to be prepared, like all the separate areas you might be, or just to when it happens, you're just prepared. So yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. It's very informative today, and I'm from California. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on in California that
started my broadcast partly into the beginning, or into she was talking the mortgage and so forth. So somebody jumping into this live stream may have, that we're 3/4 of the way through the day. If you could tell us just a few of the things that we covered this morning, different types of.
with the different mortgage.
Not necessarily mortgage, but like this morning, what we covered in terms of.
Oh, well, just
man-made or natural.
Yeah, all the different national, like the gas leaks and all that. I mean, you're unaware with like the urban type of like petroleum and just different things that can happen around your area that you're not even aware of. Like I live by a couple of the refineries and stuff. You don't stop and think, gee, if that would explode and there's been small leaks, how that's going to affect you and your surroundings. So it's very informative.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
There's Connie. Say hi, Connie.
Hey.
We'll come back to you later. I know it's a quick break here. We just have another minute. I'm live right now. If anyone wants to share any of their thoughts from this morning so far.
This was dynamic information that everybody should have, not just realtors, families, businesses, everybody. And she is one dynamic speaker. Of course, I'm prejudiced.
How do you know Connie?
I just met Connie 2 years ago. Well, maybe 4 years ago. But I've known her husband much longer. So, and we just hit it off. I moved to Vegas and we hit it off. And we've been good friends ever since.
So, either of you like to share anything that you learned today?
I was just surprised by Connie's credentials. I mean, being both in FEMA and inspections and real estate courses. Talking to the right people.
How did you hear about the event today? Like, how did you learn about?
I'm a cousin of Connie's and very close to her. Been following her journey for 8 years. The thing that blows me away today mostly is how clear and concise and clean everything she has presented is. And like I said, I'm her cousin, so I've watched her grow between her career, her education, her life experiences, her heart. She's the perfect person to present this CKM, I have dyslexia, CKM advisory opportunity. She's just perfect. It's a great presentation.
Thank you so much.
And what do you think of it?
Well, flip this around. That's what I think of it. I'm so impressed. I met Connie about 1.5 years ago when she was telling me about the experience that she had and her idea of putting this course together. And again, like you said, she has all of her world of experience that's come together. And now in light of this past year, which I met her 3 months prior to COVID, and just, if you look at 2020, just no pun intended, but the flood of disasters.
Disasters of disasters.
Yeah, disasters of disasters, man-made and just humankind of pandemic, and then the just even a couple weeks ago with the Texas, the floods and so forth. So yes, there's people of every. Whether it's your personal life or your business life, just understanding now how horribly underprepared people are. So excited to be here, and we're going to get back over to here. So let's wrap up. Hi, Yassine. Great to see you from St. Petersburg. We're going to resume.
Let's wrap this up. We put the recording back on. I got to figure out how to do that now. I don't have a little bar thing.
So you're seeing things are happening
Oh,
already.
here it is, okay.
Power to Preparedness workshop in Las Vegas.
And then expand the screen.
It's really pretty. Okay, and hide. I figured out how to hide the bar. Thank you, Alex. There we go. That's so much better.
Yeah.
It's actually showing up. There you go.
Okay.
It's not showing up on the whole screen. The part where tabs are showing up.
Oh, I got it back. I am reading everything. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. That was a good little 5-minute break. So we've got one section left, and then we completed the training. So after going through insurance and after going through mortgages and kind of dry and boring kind of stuff, all the scary stuff, I was really happy when I got to the recovery services because I can tell you that there are organizations out there that are non-governmental that started with one idea, one person, maybe 2 people, and they're now global organizations. And that, after I started reading about that, that's what I wanted my legacy to be. I wanted something that I could truly, when I was a FEMA inspector, I wanted to write a consumer book because as a FEMA inspector, you see things out there that you want to share with other people. And to me, I always had that dream. And then I went down my life, took me this totally different other path. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was everything to do with everything that I've done in the past was so that I could do this. And I used to say, when I got into life coaching and all of that, and took my training, I used to say, what does that FEMA stuff have to do with anything I'm doing today? And I said it over and over and over again. And I got really, really sick in 2019. Whatever the flu bug was, January, February, that year, I got it. And I'm sitting in my chair, and once again, I'm thinking, what does that FEMA stuff have to do with anything that I'm doing? And it was about 3 weeks later, I work with the California Association of Realtors. It was about 3 weeks later, I got this email, and the message was, well, they put out, these are the courses we're looking for, and one of them was disasters. So I immediately sent a reply back to that, and I said, nobody gets this but me. I sat there and I realized, I started really thinking about it, and I realized that was a huge crystalline moment for me. But I also realized the importance, especially because 2019 was not an easy year. I mean, everybody was looking forward to 2020, right? Oh, I can't wait for 2020. It's going to be so much better than 2019. Well, was it? No. So, writing these courses, I had written the first course, and it was up on the California Association website for a few months, and I was doing the live course at the big upstart. And I realized that the first course, which was what I talked about earlier on, and all of that, was not nearly enough. There was way more that needed to be said about disasters, about mindset, about leadership, about communications. There's much more that needed to be said so people truly understand. And that's when the idea of CPA Advisor came to be. I wanted to equip people. I can't go to get to 30 million people by myself. I need help. I need bodies in this group helping their communities change their lives and making sure that they're helping other people be prepared and saving money, saving lives, saving property. So that's how the whole thing came to be. And as I was writing this last section, I have to tell you, I was really impressed, and it really took my heart because there are so many good people out there that are doing so many amazing things. So we're going to start, first of all, by talking about preparedness services and about the government services. FEMA is actually under the Homeland Security, and they have other organizations that fall within the parameters of what they do. There's a couple of different places that actually help with preparedness, and then there's also organizations that help with survival and recovery. So under preparedness are the government agencies, and are the Ready.gov, by the way, is a public website to get information. What I can tell you about that is you get in there and you go down this rabbit hole. It's like, it's never ending, the information is overwhelming. Then there's also the National Flood Insurance Program that comes underneath FEMA's auspices, the Community Emergency Response Teams, the U.S. National Response Team, and the National Domestic Preparedness. And then you have two other services outside of that offer additional preparedness. And one of them is America's Red Cross, but also the Salvation Army is doing more now for preparedness than before. And then you have, who would have thought we would know what we know now about the CDC? I mean, I kind of knew what the CDC was in January last year. I had no idea the role the CDC was going to play in my life and your life over this last 12 months. You probably know way more about the CDC than you really want to know.
They're saying your screen looks small because it's not maximized.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Thank you. Oops. Okay. Oh yeah, big difference. Sorry guys.
That movement, can you leave that box, the black box in there?
Oh yes, yes. Now that I know how to do that, I know how to do that. Thank you. Okay, all right. Sorry about that, guys. Makes it much better to see, right? Actually, I was just testing your eyes. Okay, so under FEMA, we have all these different organizations that also are part of the survival and recovery services. And we've already talked about the National Flood Insurance Program, so I'm not going to dwell anymore on that. But since about 2018, 50% of homes now have flood insurance. My guess is 2021 is probably much higher, probably closer to 20 to 25%. I do want to take a minute to talk about the CERT program because it was started in 1985 by the Los Angeles Fire Department. There was a group of firemen and first responders that went to Japan after an earthquake. And then when they got there, they saw all of these residents in these different communities doing everything they could to do the recovery. And they were all working together. And so it was all neighbors helping neighbors, right? Then they went to, I think it was Brazil, and for another earthquake. And there were people there, were neighbors trying to help neighbors, but there were over 100 people trying to help people who died because they weren't trained properly. So they all came back and they decided what they were going to form was the Community Emergency Response Team. And what it amounts to is you have hands-on training, and it's based upon the area that you're doing. So what are the risk factors for your area, and what kind of training you're going to be getting? It does a lot with fire safety, life search and rescue, team organization, and depending upon the type of disasters in your area, and the risk factors in your area, there'll be customized training for those particular risks. It came under the auspices of FEMA in 1993. They are now in all 50 states, territories, and tribal nations. We have over 2,700 communities that have certain programs and over 600,000 volunteers. For you CKM advisors, we're talking with the CERT program people right now, but we're not there yet, so if you have not done the CERT training, I highly, highly recommend it. If you don't have a CERT program in your area, then I recommend that you reach out to us and we'll help you start one. So it's a great organization and they do amazing work. This is actually an organization that's actually more for firearms and bombs and that sort of thing. They started in '78 and they have teams all around the country. So if there's some kind of major incident that they can respond within 24 hours. And they have veterans and people who deal with bombs and that sort of thing that are in all these teams. The National Domestic Preparedness Consortium, so they actually go out and they teach first responders. So they offer some of the FEMA training that there is. If there's other like CDC and other types of training that's available, they go out and they train the first responders. They've trained over 60,000 emergency responders, including state, local, and tribal employees. So they're doing amazing work. They have some training of their own, but they also do a lot of the agency stuff as well. And think about the first responders to the pandemic. they know them absolutely. They're our heroes right now. They truly are heroes. The Center for Disease Control. Now, this is an interesting story. So Dr. Joseph Moti, he was at the time he was considered a visionary public health leader. He was working on preventing malaria, and so primarily it was in the South. Well, his original message was to try to keep malaria from spreading to other parts of the country. He went and the Emory University, which is in Atlanta, sold him a piece of property on which he built the CDC for $10. And it's the same building that the CDC expanded. It's the same property as where the CDC has their home offices now. Their mission is to prevent, obviously, pandemics, and what we can do to keep the public safe when it comes to health. I'm not going to go through every one of these. These are some nonprofits. I'm just going to mention them and mention that we can work about them and how important they are. But this is some good examples of people that started with an idea, and they started with one person, one idea, and now they've grown into global entities. We've all heard of the Red Cross. It was founded in 1881 by Clara Barton. The thing about that Red Cross is their mission has not changed since their inception. They now have over 300 volunteers. In 2019, they had over 60,000 disasters they addressed, and they provided over 529,000, almost 530,000 services for civilians, veterans, and military. By the way, any of these nonprofits, if any of them speak to your heart, make sure you reach out to them and volunteer or donate money or get involved somehow, because these are some incredible organizations. SBP, or St. Bernard Project, was an organization started by Zach Rosenberg and Elizabeth Hardy. And it's because they were at St. Bernard Parish after Katrina. They went in and they saw that the rebuilding process was being held back by inconsistencies, by people not really knowing what they're doing. So they started the SBP to help create functions and project systems in place to help rebuild organizations and take it to the local market. They also share it with other organizations that help to rebuild. Their goals are to rebuild, to share their knowledge, to prepare business owners and homes, as well as advise policymakers and advocate to improve predictability. Oh, one other thing I should. They work with 30,000 AmeriCorps volunteers. American, again, this is another one. I just love this. So Bob McCauley says, "You act now and worry about the red tape later." Well, he did. The plane that went down in Vietnam in 1979, and there was 242 Vietnamese orphans on the plane. The plane crashed in the jungle, and when they reached out to the Pentagon, they said it would take them 2 weeks to get there. There were already several children that died. Well, McCauley saw that. He chartered an airplane to rescue those kids. They were in California within 48 hours. Now here's the picture here. He didn't have the money to charter the airplane. He didn't even have the money for the deposit for the plane. But that's where he says, you know, you worry about the red tape later. He got this children into safety. And his wife, in the article I read, his wife says, you know, we went to the bank, they got our mortgage, and we got our kids. So that's another example of one person making a decision. If you have something in mind that you can help, think about this. One person, and now they are global. They provide over $500 million in health programs and medical aid each year around the country or around the globe. Team Rubicon, when the Haiti earthquake happened, there were a couple of Marines that decided that they wanted to go help. And so they put together 6 volunteers. They were primarily Marines and medical people. And when they crossed over into Haiti, the reason it's called Rubicon is because when they crossed over into Haiti, they knew there was no return. And the people that they helped are the homeless, the ones that the other support organizations out there were having a hard time getting into Haiti just because of the situation. They were there with boots on the ground, helping the most needed, people who were homeless, people that didn't have anybody or any place to go. They now have 5 global networks. 6 people, 5 global networks. They respond to over 275 disasters, and they have over 80,000 volunteers. So again, think about what you can do with one person, one idea, and you can make a big difference and create a legacy. All hands. So this part, one of these happy hugs was formed by Petra and Nicole before. These two came together. So originally they were each one person that started their nonprofit. They now provide food for over 1.1 million people. And they work with whatever the need of the community is. So they take a look at the community needs, and then they design a program around that, primarily on building disaster resistant buildings and that sort of thing. So this organization came together, and now they're helping relief over 1.1 million people. Doctors Without Borders, this was started in France. And it was started by a couple of doctors that wanted to make a difference. I think it was Nigeria was having a civil war. And in that civil war, the military was coming in and surrounding these communities, and the people that were living in the communities were dying from starvation and medical needs. They were bombing the communities and didn't have medical facilities. So these doctors decided that what they wanted to do is bring attention to the world that people were in need in these small countries that were having civil wars. So they brought together 13 doctors and journalists, and they formed Doctors Without Borders. Doctors Without Borders believes that everyone has a right to medical care, regardless of gender, race, religion, political affiliations, and the needs of people outweigh borders. Therefore, Doctors Without Borders. They're in 28 countries, and they employ 30,000 people around the world. Again, a small little group of people making a difference. Direct relief. This is another. This guy, after World War II, he was just sending out care packages to his family and his friends. He was a very rich man, and so he was sending out these care packages. Well, and then he had this loan program he put together to help people that were trying to get back on their feet after World War II. He now is one of the largest donators of medical supplies from his own pharmacies out to different disasters. So again, one man, one idea, and look what can happen. React International. So I used to, back when, I'm old enough, some of you young people don't even know what a CB radio is. But back in the day, I had a CB, and I was traveling across the country. My tandem was Prima. You knew it. So I'm out there, I'm driving across the country. Well, I had my CB radio because on Channel 9, I could hear what was going on, whether it was indicating the roads. I could also talk to the truck drivers. Now, that was good and that was bad, because I was driving across the southeast one time on a highway across the panhandle of Florida, and all of a sudden I hear, "Prima, is that you?" Now, when you start getting recognized by the truck drivers, when you're all the way in Florida and you live in Oregon, that might be an issue. But what Channel 9 did at the time is it was there, the CB radio people got together and said, okay, we're going to create a channel that brings the police, the weather, accidents, whatever it is, to one channel so people can know what's going on. So React International started with that. And now they've extended to all kinds of communications, whether it's disasters or maybe it's a big public event. The React International steps in and helps. This is another really amazing group. Okay, so this was started, Shelter Box was started in 2000. It was a millennium project by the Rotary Club in Cornwall, England. They established actually in 2004 Shelter Box USA. It's actually a box. It's a big bean box. And depending upon where that box is going, depends on what's in it. But it's things like tents. If you're in a hot area, it might have mosquito netting. It has basic pots and pans and that sort of thing. Or if you're in a cold area, it might have sleeping bags and that. Whatever the needs are for that area. And those boxes are sent out. And particularly, they work a lot in areas where towns and villages have been destroyed. You've seen the bombs. You've seen how the structures are run. They go into those areas and they provide these shelter boxes because the first line of recovery is feeling like you're safe in your own space. They've served over 1.5 million people in more than 100 countries. One Rotary Club, probably not very big, and with one idea. UNICEF will all have UNICEF, and it's all about children at that point. They want to save. They have saved more lives than any other humanitarian organization in the world. They provide healthcare, immunization, safe water, sanitation, all those kinds of things for children. NOVA was founded in 1975, and all because of Mount St. Helens. We talked about Mount St. Helens earlier. Well, there were a lot of people that were traumatized by Mount St. Helens. And so what they've done is they've created a mental assistance to help professionals, and they advocate for victims' rights. So they will go into an area and help with the mental needs of that area. They also work a lot with crime victims and that sort of thing. So, by the way, there's another phone number down at the bottom, Victim Assistance Helpline, 800-879-6682. Please put that also in your cell phone. They're another just incredible organization. All started because of our well-being. Again, I'm going to touch on these, but the faith-based, and first of all, this is not all of the organizations around there. I mean, there's more nonprofits, there's more faith-based. I bring in the ones that I was aware of, and I can bring some information to you. If you are part of an organization that's a nonprofit or faith-based, please reach out to me and my team and let us know about it so we can add it to the list, because there are people out there that want to help. The Salvation Army we're very familiar with. As a matter of fact, when you go to a disaster as a FEMA inspector, the only people that are there before you are the Red Cross and the Salvation Army. They're out there, they're giving away food, they're giving away blankets, they're giving away clothes, mattresses, whatever it is that they can give away, they're out there already doing it. Salvation Army was started in 1878 when General Hood decided that his ambition was to work to help the souls of men. He says some men's ambition is heart, some men's ambition is faith, some men's ambition is gold, my ambition is souls of men. And he started because he wanted to reach out to people that he's unchurched. Now, they're in 125 countries. The first disaster they did in the U.S. was in 1900 in Galveston, Texas. His son started Volunteers of America. That was founded in 1896. And it now serves over 1.5 million people per year. It helps provide affordable housing and other assistance primarily to low-income people. So obviously, the fruit didn't fall from the tree. Samaritan's Purse, founded in 1970 by Bob Pierce. This is a non-denominational Christian organization. They go into war episodes and they look for people with poverty and natural disasters. They provide all types of physical and spiritual aid. This is the Jewish organization called Nechama. It's based in the Jewish value of Tikkun Olam, which means world repair. They go out and again, they supply communities, depending on what they need in disasters, rebuild all those types of things. Then we have children. This one I had never heard of, and I would have thought the 7 years I spent as a community inspector, I would have known about this. Children's disaster services goes into shelters and other facilities that are helping with shelter people that are out of their homes. They provide children with childcare. Now, I never thought about this, but think about this. You've got children, the parents are traumatized, now you've got these children that are traumatized. They go into these areas and they work with these kids. They bring something called Kit of Comfort. It has toys and games in it that are helped to calm the children as well as give them some intellectual stimulus. Over 3,100 volunteers have cared for more than 87,000 children in response to over 230 disasters. What a concept. Friends of Disaster, these are hands-on people. So these are people that when they go into an area, they're the ones that bring their shovels and their nails and hammers and all of that. And they provide the labor and things, but they also provide the food as that kind of support. And it all started because of a tornado in San Diego, Ohio. All these things were started by, most of them started by itsy-bitsy things. The Catholic Charities, in 1910, it was founded as an attorney for the poor. They believed they could change the course of poverty in the U.S. And they just recently, in the last few years, started getting involved with disasters. But they provide immediate as well as long-term relief from those affected by disasters. Now, those of you that are part of NAR has a foundation they started called the Realtors Relief Foundation. It's not in all 50 states. If you're a realtor that isn't in your state, you might want to reach out to your state leadership and see if you can't put one together. But they have raised, for the support of realtors in different disasters, more than $32 million on approximately 80 disasters in 39 states. So they provide all different kinds of housing in the lake. So if your state is not one, or if you have not participated and donated and volunteered for yours and it is your state, I highly recommend you do so. Okay, we've reached the conclusion. We can make a choice and choose a different pathway forward. The future is not written yet. We get to choose that future. We get to decide how we're going to move forward. We get to decide whether we are resilient or we're a victim. As a CKM advisor, you're going to play an integral role in making sure that they are resilient. You're going to make it play a really important role in providing a community that is safe. If you're not a CKM advisor, reach out to the community, participate in the community, make a difference, please. So for those of you that are going to be becoming CKM advisors, there is going to be a test that you take that makes you official. It's an online test, and are we sending out the link?
Yes.
Okay, we're sending out the link to all of you to be able to take the test. If you weren't planning on being a CKM advisor before today, but you think maybe you would like to be a CKM advisor, well, guess what? All you have to do is take the test. So it'll be sent out to you, and you'll be able to take it online, and then you are official CKM. So what are the benefits? What are the benefits of being a CKM advisor? Well, I think you see the difference you can make in your community from everything I've talked about today. But you also have available to you a course I've written called How to Persevere in Troubling Times. It is completely customizable for your area, where you can take out to your area and talk about the risk in your area. It can be done virtually, or it can be done live. You can make a big event out of it, or you can just invite some potential clients. But you can take it to civic organizations, to the church, the chamber, schools, anyone that will listen. And it can be anywhere from a 30-minute event to a 2-hour event. But you have that available to you to take out to your community. You also have the opportunity. I've written a book called When the Unthinkable Happens, Be Prepared, Be Ready. This is my consumer book that I wanted to write several years ago. It's finally coming to fruition. And you will have the opportunity as a CKM advisor to put your chapter in that book. Now, it isn't officially published yet. It's available right now in PDF. But when it is published, I have 5 best-selling books. I will make sure that this is a #1 best-selling book. So you'll be able to add your name to the book in your chapter, talking about why you want to be a CKM advisor, why you wanted to be involved in the community, why you wanted to be a real estate agent, why you wanted to have a business if you're not a real estate agent, why you wanted to do this, why you wanted to be a leader. And I promise you that it is the very best marketing tool you can ever have. We also have a toolkit of forms and things like that that you can brand with information in it. We'll provide you with all different types of marketing collateral, flyers, that sort of thing that can be branded. We also have ongoing education. Every month I'll be doing some kind of education. It might be like on storms, or it might be something about mindset. We'll be doing ongoing education so that you make sure that you stay as professional as you can possibly be in your community, and make sure that you stand out. We have a resource page that we just established. You can go on, and there's all kinds of materials and links to different things on FEMA and other websites that you can go on and get the up-to-date information. It's a work in progress at this point, but it's pretty substantial already. And then we also have the CKM community. So it's a private community of group of everybody that's become a CKM advisor, and you have the ability to get the support from others. So let's say you're in a disaster area, and there's maybe 3 right now. We're small, so there's a few of you that are CKM advisors, and you can form a team and help to expand and redevelop and help your community grow faster. You also will have the support of all of us, the team, my team, the other CKM advisors. We're all going to work together to support you in whatever means possible to help recover. First of all, recover faster, recover better, to build back better. Those are all things that are going to happen now that you're a CKM advisor. If you decide you're a team leader or you're a business owner, you can become a prestige partner. And that just means that you can have a link on your website You can offer the CCAM training to others and to be able to get out there and promote your business in another way. So let me just suffice to say that obviously to me, I'm extremely passionate about this. It is important to me that I reach 30 million people in 5 years. And it is important to me to have people like you on board with me to make that happen. Because we are going to change the way people look at preparedness. We're going to change the way that people recover and survive disasters. We're going to save lives, we're going to save property money, and we're going to save financially. All of those things are things that we're going to be able to do. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to, first of all, for those of you that are not planning on being a CQ advisor, but you want to know more about it, thank you, and I hope that you'll do whatever you can do to support your community as well. And for those of you that are CQ advisors now, I cannot wait to get to know you personally and support you. My team, we all will support you in the very best way possible. And before I shut up, I need to give a huge shout out to the 5 people that have made this happen. This was my first, but by no means my last. And it's just going to get better and better and better, and I could not do it without all of you. So, thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the class. Any questions?
No, sorry.
That's okay. Did anybody have any questions?
It was awesome, Connie.
Thank you. Thank you.
When's the next one?
Yes.
When's the next one?
April 8th. Oh, yes. There's another one. Thank you, Darcy. Yes, the next one is April 8th, and, you know, as everything goes, practice makes perfect, right? So it's going to get better and better and better. So, yes. But again, thank you for joining me. God bless. All right.
Good job.
So again, this is Darcy Hall. I'm here live in Las Vegas at the CKM Solutions Group's first hybrid training for the Powered Up Preparedness workshop to educate and train people to become a crisis knowledge management advisor in their area, and with the goal of educating over 30 million individuals over the course of the next 5 years. It'd be great to do it way sooner than that on how to prepare for a disaster, how to survive a disaster, and how to recover from a disaster. And one of my personal key takeaways today was the consistent emphasis on mindfulness, and just even realizing that each of us individually taking those daily efforts of creating mindfulness as a part of our daily practice so that we're calm, cool, collected, and able to respond appropriately in our own personal life, that if and when, and we all know something will happen, it's not just an if, but when crisis happens, that we can lead ourselves and lead others. And with that, we'll be able to even reduce the amount of disasters because we'll be able to help mitigate man-made ones and also create better opportunities for better handling of those natural disasters that will come along the way. I want to thank everybody coming in. If Connie will let me, I'll give her just a couple. I know she's been talking since 9 o'clock this morning. I've just jam-packed with amazing information, but I want to thank her so much, and I want to give her, in her own words, to thank the world here, to say, hey, what this is all about. And here we go. Welcome, you're live to Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You're
Oh,
live
I
to
should
the
be
world.
nervous, huh?
There's only 24 people watching.
Okay.
So a bit later, more people will say, and I just want to thank you so much for being here. If you could tell us real quick, because they weren't here this morning, where this came about from and how they can get involved.
Well, it came about because I was a FEMA inspector for 7 years and a trainer. And I always started out with just wanting to write a consumer book because there was so much the consumers didn't know about disasters and how to be prepared. There's a very scary statistic that says that 61% of Americans expect to be in some type of disaster in the next 3 to 5 years, and only 15 to 35% are prepared. So my goal and my vision was to develop a program called CCAM Advisor Designation that I can help people become prepared and help educate their communities. So my vision is to help 30 million people over the next 5 years, and I can only do that if I get the help of others that want to make a difference. And what's interesting is, as they're making a difference in their communities, if they have a business, it's going to help their business all at the same time, because who is somebody going to call if you care about your community, if you care about the people in your community? When it comes time for the services you offer, who are they going to call? They're going to call you. And so it's a passion of mine, and I'm looking forward to truly making a difference and having CCAM advisors all over the country.
Thank you, Connie. And tell everybody where they can find out more information.
Oh, yes. Well, you can go to ckmsolutionsgroup.com and reach out to us. Also, info at ckmsolutionsgroup.com. If you want to reach out to me personally, it's coni.meyers@ckmsolutionsgroup.com.
Thank you, Connie.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
High five.
Woo! Woo! All right. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, so April 8th, everybody sign up. The amount of information, I was so diligently taking notes this morning. There was so much information that even regardless of anything for anybody else, for yourself, you need this information like you wouldn't even believe. There's statistics are astronomical and the amount of information that Connie's able to help you get in the mindset for and preparing for yourself alone, if that's no other reason than to save your own life, to take it, but to be able to save the lives of others is just absolutely incredible. So I'm going to put the web address again in here. It's C as in crisis, K as in knowledge, M as in management, solutionsgroup.com. And go online, learn more, sign up, and the next one will be April 8th, in person and online. So again, this is Darcy Hall here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and thank you so much for joining us, and keep in touch. Thank you.